Good afternoon. My name is Brian Makris. I'm President and CEO of Home Choice Lending. And today on Grit Matters, we have a special guest. We have LaChance. He recently came to one of our classes that we held, Overcoming Challenges in Solution-Based Lending. So Alex, hey, you're with East Key Realty. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this crazy business and how's this market these days? So who are you, first of all? Tell me about you.
So I'm LaChance from East Key Realty, as you already said.
I love it.
I've been doing real estate a little over 4 years. I hit my 4-year mark in January. Primary business is mostly helping first-time home buyers and blue-collar people. A lot of the challenging situations that some people turn their nose up at, I'm right there to try to help people out and get them into a home when it seems impossible. Do a lot of listings. I'm good at that too, but I really love the home buyer side and really helping guide people into
negotiating contracts, overcoming challenges with inspections, failed septics, failed roof, chimneys leaning, that type of stuff.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, it just being a problem solver. You know, on the listing side, I do what I'm good at it. You feel like a used car salesman a little bit sometimes because you got to sell that house to somebody.
Yeah.
And you're on the seller's side, so you can't always give your full opinion on what you think of the house. When you're working with the buyers, it's, you know, you can tell them exactly what you think and help them get exactly what they want. And on the listing side, I don't always feel that way. So that's what I've focused on mostly. But I do it all. I definitely do.
So tell me. Go ahead.
Oh, you had asked how I got into the business
how did you get into the business and how long you've been practicing? Because for those of you out there that don't know, he's got a huge presence. He does market updates. He talks about the industry every single day or twice a day. I see you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, and they're short, valuable messages that you're out there. So how did you get into the business, and then how did you take this theory? You've been doing this for 3, 4, 5 years now of really creating this knowledge out there for first-time home buyers, regular buyers, savvy buyers.
Yeah, so I got into real estate by a complete accident. I had an absolute meltdown at a job. I was middle management and taking all the horrible stuff from everybody below me and everybody above me got to be too much, and I just snapped and quit one day. I had a 3-month-old child and about $1,000 in the bank.
Wow.
So
tough time to start your career.
It was not a smart decision to just walk out of that job swearing at everybody like I did.
Yeah.
But my wife's like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And I said, I don't know. But the next morning, she said to me, "Hey, you always said you want to get your real estate license," and I never really knew why. It was just something that I thought I could do easily and try it out. I said, okay, you know, I'm not going to make money right away, right?
Right.
It's not an instant success type of thing. Fortunately, because I had nothing else going on, I was able to make it successful pretty quick. I'm still talking about 6 months from when I quit that job is when I got my first sale.
Wow.
But I mean, very quickly
obviously
in
an
that first
incredible
year,
wife, new baby, incredible wife, and you're like
very
water.
forgiving.
You're treading water.
Yeah, very forgiving. You know, and not to say she wasn't terrified.
Yes.
But you know, we made it work. I was doing Uber and Lyft and grocery delivery through Instacart.
Anything you could.
Uber Eats, DoorDash, anything I could to just
love the side hustle.
Yeah, I remember saying to her like, okay, well, we'll take our kid out of daycare. I'll be a full-time dad, so that's going to free up a little bit more money. You can, quote-unquote, pay me to watch the kid.
Right. That
way it takes a little bit of the burden off of how much I have to spend. And I never had to do that. The first month, the bills came up, and I said, no, we're still 50-50. I got enough. I was able to, within weeks of quitting, I was able to stabilize and still provide my family the same way I was. So that was awesome. And then as far as, I knew I didn't want to be a cold caller. I knew, mail is kind of dead and tough because everybody's doing it.
Sure.
I saw all these ways to generate. I knew I didn't have the money to pay for leads. I saw all these lead generation systems out there that just weren't for me. And I watched what a few other people were doing on social media, and I said, I can do that, and I can do it better.
And you are.
And I just went for it. And I think a couple of years ago, I was probably doing more than I do now, because once I started getting busy with real estate, it was harder to push that content out all the time. But I just found that I love doing that. I like being an informer. I like entertaining.
It's
I played in a band for years, and I was always
stage fright isn't there.
No, not at all. Yeah, I know. Every time somebody's like, I don't know what to talk about. I'm scared to go on video. I don't want to embarrass myself. I'm like, I don't even understand that. It doesn't compute to me. Like I could do this any day of the week, and it doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Right.
Put as many cameras on me as you want. I'm not
For
afraid.
many, it does. Many, it does. So that's a blessing. So you started to see some traction. You started to see some results from your social media, your sphere of influence, the people that you know, some neighbors, some friends, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm Alex. You know, he took good care of me. I'm calling Alex again. They're gonna sell, make their $100,000 profit or 50, move on again, and they're calling you back. You've been in long enough to see some of that repeat customer now, right?
Oh yeah, just yesterday I was at a listing appointment, and I was a friend of somebody that I've worked with before, and I was thinking about that one person has been responsible for 9 deals in my career.
Wow.
And it was all based on, I mean, I hadn't talked to them in years, and they saw my social media stuff and said, hey, we got a house to sell and we want to move. They've moved twice, so I have to buy and sell twice with them. They've referred me to multiple people. I've gotten sales from people that came to their open houses that didn't buy their house. So it's like, just that one connection on social media makes all the difference.
Any regrets from walking out that day and just, it doesn't feel like it, but how do you feel about it?
No, honestly, probably one of the best things I was so stressed, man. I was drinking a ton. I was as heavy as I ever was in my life, as out of shape as I ever was in my life. No regrets. It was completely life-changing. Everything I have now, I owe to walking out that day, really.
I love it. I love it. Real estate, for those of you that I'm sure he's growing a team, so if someone's thinking about getting into real estate, call Alex. He can probably help you out there, point you in the right direction on study materials and how to pass that very tough
I love
exam.
helping new people. Yeah, I love that.
So you'd be a great mentor. But when you get into real estate, like you said, it could be 3, 4, 5 months before you get that first deal. And that side hustle is so important to get there because now you've got that established clientele and you're growing and you've got listing appointments. I see you all over, constantly having closings. So I know your success pattern is like the hockey puck. It's like straight up. You've been doing incredible. In today's market, there are so many customers out there that are like, I'm afraid, interest rates are higher. I'm afraid that if I list my house, I'm not going to have a place to go. How do you handle that particular customer? Because there are a lot of people just saying, I might go look at 15 houses, put an offer on 15, and I don't get it. Is the market the same right now as it was 3 months ago? Is it softening up a little bit? What's your take? You're in it.
So I'm seeing, the cream of the crop, desirable houses, the good neighborhoods, everything's done. You're still seeing 25 offers on them. You're still seeing 40, 50, 60, 70,000 above list price, waived everything, cover appraisal gaps. You're still seeing all that crazy stuff. I am seeing a little bit of a pullback on stuff that's maybe a little less desirable in that starter house range. Maybe if it's on a new street, a busy street, maybe if it needs a little bit of work. I'm seeing people pull back a little bit and buyers finally kind of saying, no, let's wait for something better. But I just lost a mobile home offer. 8 offers on a mobile home.
Wow.
We were 10,000 over, which doesn't sound like much in this market, but that was more than 10% over.
Okay.
You're seeing, I think people in that starter home price range are starting to move down into mobile homes and condos, and it's condos and mobile homes are getting crazier. I think the people at the higher price ranges, all this inflation and gas price and stuff like that doesn't affect them as much. Maybe they got to stay at a cheaper hotel when they go on vacation. Higher price.
They're not staying at the Ritz. Now they're at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, exactly.
They're making adjustments.
But they can still afford the nice house.
Right.
It's the people at that mid-range starter level
getting squeezed a little
that I think are really getting squeezed, and they're starting to get a little bit more particular. I don't think that's going to cause any drastic change. I think prices are still going up despite the rates. I mean, what you're watching it in real time. I mean, what rate do we start seeing house prices come down? I don't know that there is one.
Right.
Because
it's supply and demand at the end of the day. That's really what's driving this. We have more buyers than we have houses, and that creates that bidding war. When there's one buyer and 12 houses, they get to start to pick. That will shift. I've seen in different areas of the country that we're starting to see a little bit of an equalization, almost like an ebb tide, where the tide's coming in and then that moment before it starts to go out. There's some slight adjustments. Now, there's always going to be the pockets, the Bedford or the Amherst or the Windham, but then you get into some of these side towns, and things are different. The one other thing that I've really noticed that's unique about New Hampshire is the reason why we have such a shortage, and this is my personal opinion and a lot of things that I've read, is that so many people that can work remotely now are moving to states that don't have an income tax or sales tax. And there's only 9 states in the country that don't have an income tax. We're one of them.
Well, I don't know if this is a recent stat, but I saw it probably a year ago that we're the only New England state with more people moving in than moving out.
Correct.
And
creates the shortage.
That's, and nationally, for decades upon decades, we were seeing 25 million homes built. And then 2010 to 2020, it was something like 5 million.
Yeah.
With record population increase.
Right.
So, there's a shortage that goes way beyond, the COVID effect or any of that. We have an institutionalized shortage that's not going away.
I've had many customers from out of state moving here from New York City that pay city tax, state tax, apartments that are $15,000 a month and they're 1,600 square feet, okay, to moving here and saving 10 grand a month on their housing, and now they're not paying that city tax or that state tax. So they're not all of a sudden. So I had one executive.
And they're selling a house that was 6 times the amount of the house that they're going to buy now.
Correct. So I had one that moved to Auburn. His payment's now 5 G's a month. Which is a lot, don't get me wrong, out of my range. But for him, he was saving 10 grand a month from New York City.
That's unreal.
Okay, he was paying $15,000. And he's like, now I just go into the city once a quarter, I grab a hotel or one of our company suites, and he's there for a couple of days and he comes back once a quarter. He's like, we're not moving back. I've got side-by-sides in my backyard now. I got a fire pit. He didn't have any of that stuff. So some of these people are saying, hey, we like the lakes, we got the beach, we got the mountains, we can be in Boston. It's a desirable place.
It's all the stuff that we say every day about why we love living here, right?
Yeah, it's a great state. So in today's market, if somebody's a little scared, a little concerned, they can call you. They can call you right here. They can just shoot you a text, give you a phone call, and say, hey, Alex, what's my house worth? Because there are pockets. And do you help prep them on the condition of the home? Let's say that it's I got to put a roof on it. It's at that stage, or the furnace is hurting, or do I need to have the mulch out there? Are those expenses they have to do right now? Do I have to paint? What kind of prepping, or do you give them any guidance on that?
I mean, lately the market has not punished people for not doing those things, but as we see a little bit of a change, I think you're going to start seeing that people need to do more. I usually steer people towards the cheap stuff they can do themselves, the painting, and just clean and organized. Most of the houses I walk in, and don't get me wrong, I'm a messy person. If it wasn't for my wife, I'd live in complete squalor. But I walk into houses and they're like, so we can take pictures tomorrow, and like, no, you need to pick the dirty underwear up off the floor. I'm not judging you at all, but you want the house to look like a hotel room is what I always say.
Bring it back
generic decorations and just like that feel when you walk into a hotel room that's a professional put that sheet on the bed. Have everything look perfect.
Together.
I think the major items. Heat system, people are still, willing to, if it's 1 or 2 major items, like say you got a brand new roof, but the heat system's 30 years old, they might ignore that. But if the whole house is run down, well, then we're just looking at a different price point, I think, most of the time.
Okay.
A lot of the people I run into too, they don't have, their house may need a roof, but where's the money coming from?
Gotcha.
They don't have the means to do it. And I think you can still sell the house. You just got to take it into consideration when you price it that it needs a few things.
And you can help guide them through that.
I always have kind of a pre-listing appointment. I'd say we call them listing appointments.
Sure.
When you book somebody calls you and says they want to sell a house, you call that a listing appointment. But really what you're going is for a pre-listing appointment to kind of get them ready for listing. So I always show up with the contracts to sign, but I probably only actually sign them 9 out of 10 listing.
Okay.
I mean, 1 out of 10 listing
1 out of 10.
appointments, because most of the time I'm going to go, okay, here's the list of things you need
Sure,
to do to
homework
get ready.
assignment.
East Key Realty, actually, we have a guide that was made by the company called Preparing Your House to Sell It. I think it's about 9 pages. And
Nice.
I bring them that every time.
Okay.
And leave it for them to go through as they're doing it. I'll go through and make my suggestions, but having that little packet, I think, is a little helpful. They can go back and kind of use it as a checklist.
And let's talk about territory. New Hampshire, I mean, is one of the smaller states out there, but nonetheless, it's still a good amount to drive. Where is kind of your sweet spot? Do you go into the Lakes region? Do you go over to the Seacoast? I know that your hub's right here. Let's talk about where you service customers.
I mean, I'm conscious about price point when I talk about how far I'm going. So for your median priced home, I'll go as far as the Seacoast, up in the Lakes region,
Okay.
for sure. For buyers, for a listing, I'll take it almost anywhere.
Okay.
I mean,
Nice to know.
I don't probably not going up to Pittsburgh or anything like that, but for a listing, I'll go pretty far because I mean, really in this market, I probably have to visit 4 or 5 times. Not a big deal. For buyers, we're going to drive around a lot. I try to stay within an hour of Manchester. I live in Bow now, actually, so about an hour of Bow is kind of.
Okay, so that's actually right
Kind of my
central.
realm.
So you
Yeah.
just draw, a circle around that area, and that encompasses a large mass.
And I am licensed in Massachusetts. I've only done 1 deal there so far.
Okay.
I picked up my license last year,
Congrats.
mostly to service people who are on
bouncing.
both sides of the border, and I haven't run into a lot of that lately.
Right.
But my first deal, I actually did it in Worcester County. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that. I figured I'd be all Essex.
Yeah. You're
but-
like, Worcester, where exactly? I know it's a little.
Yeah, Leominster to be
Leominster, I
specific.
know right where it is.
Like
Yeah.
I GPSed it. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
mean to do that, but it was for good friends of mine. So
All right, nice.
it was good.
Nice. So we're going to have you back. We're going to have you back because you're social media. So find them on, what's your handle on TikTok? Because that's where I see you all the time. It's amazing.
So 603 Real Estate is my TikTok, and same thing on Instagram, except it's underscores between
Yep.
603 Real Estate.
Got it.
You find me on Facebook too. I recycle some of the content, so whatever places you like to follow me on is good. But do a lot of stuff on Facebook also. You
Okay.
just find me by my name there.
Yeah, Alex LaChance, look you up. My man.
Yep.
So I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to build on this, and I know that you said you had a ton of market stats that we'll bring in. We could look at year over year that your company and you dig into, and you really start to look at market trends. So we'll talk about that the next time you come in.
Right.
But guys, if you're out there, educational stuff, he's all over it. I'm heavy on the education. I do classes every single month. But he's somebody you should look up, follow, learn about what he does out there because he's an asset out there to anybody that's getting into real estate. So Alex, I really appreciate you coming in today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.